What's up guys? Today I'm going to teach you how to solve the Rubik's Cube, the most frustrating brain teaser of the 80s. And the reason why it has that title is because no one actually knew the method to solve the cube. And if you don't know that method, then the Rubik's Cube is pretty much impossible to solve. But in this video, I'm going to go over that specific method so that in no time at all, you will be able to solve any 3x3 Rubik's Cube. Let's begin. Before we get started, I need to tell you some facts about the cube. The Rubik's Cube has 26 mini cubes on the whole thing, which I will simply call pieces. Now the Rubik's Cube has three different types of pieces. Center pieces, like these, corner pieces, like these pieces, and edge pieces, like these. Center pieces only have one color and they're in the center, hence the name centerpiece. And no matter how you turn each side, each centerpiece will always stay in their proper places. It can never be swapped with other centers. For edges, they have two colors and they can only go to each edge, and they can never end up in the corners or in the centers, obviously. And finally, corner pieces have three colors built into them, and no matter how you turn the cube, corner pieces will always end up in the corners, not the centers or the edges. Now we need to learn some notation, which basically identifies each side of the cube. So basically what you have to do is you have to hold the cube in any position. It doesn't matter what the colors are. The side that's facing you is labeled F. The side on the right is labeled R. The side on the left is labeled L. The side on top is labeled U, or up. The side on the bottom is labeled D, or down. And the side on the back is labeled B. Now these letters that I mentioned will be used in what are called algorithms. And algorithms are a set of moves that you do on the cube so you can move certain pieces around it without messing it up. So whenever you see one of those letters in an algorithm, that means to turn that side one turn clockwise. So when you see just the letter U in an algorithm, that means to turn the top side one turn clockwise, like that. And if you see an R in an algorithm, that means to turn the right side one turn clockwise, like that. Same goes for the front. Turn the front side clockwise, and it pretty much applies to all sides. Now, if you see an apostrophe or a prime symbol at the end of the letter, that means to do the same thing except in reverse. In other words, counterclockwise. So this will be an R prime move, this will be a U prime move, this will be an F prime move, and so forth. Now, it may be confusing which way to do it for the left, bottom, and back sides. So just pretend that you're facing it. So assuming that blue is my F, if I go over here, this would be B, and this would be B prime. And then from this angle, this is B, and this is B prime. And if you see a 2 at the end of the letter, that means to turn that side 180 degrees in either direction. So for example, this would be R2, and this would be R2 again. This is U2, this is F2, this is L2, and you get the point. Now for double moves, it doesn't matter which way you turn it, because if I turn it like this, you see white goes on top. And if I were to turn this in the other direction, you see you get the same result. So let's take a sample algorithm like R prime D2 U. What you would have to do in that algorithm is turn the right side one turn counterclockwise, turn the bottom side twice, and then turn the top clockwise. And that is R prime D2 U. Now that you know the notation and what algorithms are, let me give you a brief overview on how we're going to solve the Rubik's Cube. It's 7 steps total. The first step is to solve the white cross. The second step is to solve these white corners. The third step is to solve this middle layer, like this. The fourth step is to orient the cross so that yellow is on top. The fifth step is to permute the edges so that they're matched up with their respective centers. The sixth step is permuting the corners or putting them in the correct places. And the seventh step is orienting the corners or twisting them so that we solve the cube. If at any time you want to skip to the next step or to go back to a previous step, you can use the timestamps in the description below to navigate the tutorial. So let's scramble it up. Alright, that looks pretty good. So the first step is to solve the white cross on top. Now, some people may assume that this step is pretty much self-explanatory. Just make a white cross on top. But that's not the case. What you have to do in addition to that is match up these two pieces on each side. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see, I have this green and white edge piece that I can just simply turn up to the top. And as you can see, that matches up these pieces, but it didn't match up these pieces. This is a green-white edge piece, meaning that this piece has to go between the white and green centerpieces. So what we can do in this case is move this edge piece to the green side, like that. And this is our first proper edge piece done. Now we have to do the same thing for these other 3 edges. So let's look for some white edge pieces on the bottom. Here is a white and blue edge. Now in this case we can't just simply bring this piece up to the top, because not only will this solve the white, we will fail to match up these 2 pieces. So to properly put this piece up to the top, we have to first match this piece to the blue side, like this. So now it's attached to the blue center. Then we can attach the white sticker to the white center. So now I have white, blue, and white, green. Get the idea? So now I have to do the same thing for 2 more edges. Here's a white and red edge piece. Now in this case the white is facing us. So in this case we can't just simply match up this piece with the secondary color, because if we do that, you see the pieces will not match up properly, and if we were to bring it up to the top, sure enough, the edge is in the correct place, but it's flipped. So to get this piece up to here in its correct orientation, what we can do is we can bring this edge piece to the right, bring it up so that we match the secondary color, then we can match the whites together, and bring this other edge back. And as you can see, I have 3 edges done, and I only have 1 left. And here it is right here, and it's in the middle layer. Now if you get this case where the edge piece is in the middle layer, what you can do is you can bring it down to the bottom, but we don't want to leave any solved pieces in the middle layer, because you can mess things up. So when you have this piece in the middle layer and 2 solved pieces next to each other, what you can do is do the same thing to bring this edge piece down to the middle layer, but once it's down there, get it out of the way and bring this solved edge piece back. And as you can see, we brought this edge piece down to the middle layer, and we also preserved our 3 solved edges. Now we can do the same thing like we normally would. So let's match up the secondary color, which is orange, and then we can match the whites together. And as you can see, we now have our white cross done, and not only that, we also solved these 2 pieces on each side. And with that said, this concludes step 1. For step 2, we want to solve the white corners on top and solve the white side. Now the one thing that confuses some people with this step is they just want to solve the white side, like this. And as you can see, you would think you solved the second step, but if you look carefully, you see that these pieces do not match up. So for this step, not only do we have to solve the white side, we also have to match each corner, like this one, with its secondary colors, like this one and this one. So the first thing you want to do is look for a white corner on the bottom layer. So let's look for that. Here's one right here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put this corner underneath where it goes. So in this case, the secondary colors of this corner are blue and orange. So that means we have to put this corner underneath the white, blue, and orange slot, which is this. Before we put the corner in its correct place, we need to check where the white sticker is. As you can see, the white sticker is facing straight down. And we don't want the white sticker to be facing straight down, because if we were to bring it up like this, or this, you see the pieces will not be lined up properly. So what we have to do is we have to orient this corner so that the white sticker is either here or here. So what we have to do is we have to put the corner that we want to orient on the bottom right on the front face, and then you do this very short algorithm. R prime D2 R. And by doing that, we oriented our corner so that the white is on the right side. So now that the sticker is in front of us, we can go ahead and just simply bring up the piece. But as you can see, if we pair it up, you see we ruined our cross. We can't do that. So to prevent the cross from getting messed up even more, we don't take the stairs. We take the elevator. So here's what I mean by taking the elevator. Put it so white faces you, and then it waits for the elevator goes down, loads the piece, and the elevator goes back up. Notice as we did that, it put the corner in its correct place, and we didn't ruin our cross. Now, this elevator technique I didn't come up with. It was invented by YouTube user Lucaden. Full credit goes to him. So anyways, since this corner is done, let's get down to the remaining 3 corners. There is a white, blue, and red corner, so we have to put it underneath the white, red, blue slot, which is this right here. And in this case, the white sticker is already facing us, so we can put it up to the top face. So here we have the same case except mirrored, but you do the same thing with white facing you. Waits for the elevator goes down, loads the piece, and the elevator goes back up. And there we go. It put this corner in its correct place. Now we have to do the same thing for the remaining two corners. Here's a white, red, and green corner, so we have to put this corner underneath the white, green, and red centers, which is this slot right here. And to put this corner in, remember, you do the same thing with white facing you, waits for the elevator goes down, loads the piece, and the elevator goes back up. And now we solved our third corner. Now we have to get this final corner in. So let's look for that corner. In this case, it's not in the bottom layer, which means the only spot it can potentially end up in is its spot right here. As you can see, this corner is already in the correct spot, except it's rotated wrong. So to solve this case, we have to put a random corner on the bottom layer into this spot to replace this corner and bring it down to the bottom. So we can use this corner since it's right here. So we can do the same thing. Waits for the elevator goes down, loads the piece, and the elevator goes back up. And as you can see, we brought this corner from the top layer down to the bottom layer. And as you can see, we have the same case that we got for the other two corners. So to solve this, like I said before, you have to put it so that white faces you, waits for the elevator goes down, loads the piece, and the elevator goes back up. And as you can see, not only do we solve the white side, but we also solved this entire first layer. So this concludes step 2. For the third step, we have to solve this middle layer of pieces. So to do this, we have to go to the opposite side on the bottom and make that our top. In this case, it's yellow. So what we have to do first is we have to look for any edges on the top layer that don't contain yellow. Here's a piece right here. It has red and blue. So what we have to do is we have to match this edge piece with its front color center. And since red is in front, we have to match this edge piece with the red center. So let's turn the top layer until this piece matches the red center. Here it is. It's now matched up with the red center. Now that the front color is matched up, we need to check to make sure where this piece goes. As you can see, this piece needs to go to the left. Now this step contains 2 algorithms, or technically 1, because the second algorithm I'm going to teach you is basically the same thing except mirrored. Now when you have a case like this, where this edge piece needs to go here, put the edge piece in front of you on the top face, and the algorithm to put this piece to here is as follows. U prime, L prime, U, L, U, F, U prime, F prime. And as you can see, we put this piece in the correct spot, and we didn't mess up our white side. Now we basically have to do the same thing for the remaining 3 edges. So let's look for some non-yellow edges on top. We got yellow in here, that's not good. Here's a yellow piece, that's not good. This piece doesn't have yellow, which is good. This piece is orange and green, and it's already matched up with its front color. So now we have to check where this piece goes. In this case, it's to the left again. So we do the same algorithm. U prime, L prime, U, L, U, F, U prime, F prime. And as you can see, it put this piece in place, and we preserved our white. Now we need to do 2 more edges. Here's yellow, not good. Yellow's here, that's not good. This one does not have yellow. This is a red and green edge, and it's already matched up with its front piece. And as you can see, we got a different case. This piece needs to go here instead of there. So when you have a case where this edge piece needs to go here, you want to position the cube the same way, except you're going to mirror the algorithm. So with the algorithm mirrored, it becomes U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, F prime, U, F. Now as you can see, it put the edge piece in the correct place, and we still didn't mess up our white. Now we have one more edge piece to work on, which is this, the orange and blue, and it's already positioned so that the front color matches, and we have the same case as we did with the last edge, where this piece needs to go here. So we do the same thing. We position the edge in front of us and do the algorithm again. U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, F prime, U, F. And that puts the edge piece in place, and by doing that, you have solved white and these first 2 layers. Now when you get this case, where the edge piece is already in the correct place, but flipped wrong, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing as we did before to put one edge inside here. But the thing is, we can apply either algorithm to this edge to bring it onto the top. So we can either do it from this angle or this angle. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to choose this angle. So what we can do is we can put this yellow edge piece down to here. That way it will replace this edge piece and bring it up to the top. Then we can put the edge back in, orienting it correctly. So let's replace this edge piece with this one by doing the algorithm. And by doing that, you see the edge ends up all the way over here. So let's align the front color, and now we can put this piece into its spot like we normally would. Now as you can see, not only did we solve the white, but we also solved these first two layers. And that is step 3. For step 4, we want to solve a yellow cross on top. I know what you're thinking, Adam, are we going to solve these pieces as well? Hold your horses, we'll get there. Now when you get to this step, you'll encounter one of 3 scenarios. The first scenario is what I have here, where no edges are oriented correctly. The second scenario is when you have 2 edges oriented correctly next to each other, forming an L shape, like this. And the third scenario is when you have 2 edges that are oriented correctly opposite each other, forming a straight line. So I just put in the hardest case so that if you can understand this case, you can pretty much understand the rest of them. Now this step requires only one algorithm. Now if you have a case where no edges are oriented correctly, meaning that no yellow is on top of any of them, what you have to do is you can choose any random angle as long as the solved side is on the bottom, and then you do this one and only algorithm. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And by doing that, you get to the second scenario that I showed you, where you have 2 edges oriented correctly forming the L shape. What you would have to do when you get the L shape is you have to put the L in the top left corner and then do the algorithm again. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And by doing that, you get to the third case, where you have 2 edges oriented correctly forming the straight line. What we have to do is you have to keep that line horizontal and do the algorithm one final time. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And by doing that, we get our yellow cross. And that is step 4. Remember when I said hold your horses about these secondary colors? Well, this is what step 5 is all about, where we permute each edge or put them in their correct places without messing up their orientation. So the first thing that we need to do is find 2 solved edge pieces next to each other. So let's look around the cube for those. Here's one, and here's the other. So now that we know that these 2 pieces are solved, what we can do is we can do a U prime move to bring the solved pieces to the right and back. And we can do this algorithm that will cycle these 3 pieces around counterclockwise. Now, the algorithm that I'm going to show you that does this is called Sune. And what is Sune? Well, I'm glad you asked. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. And if we line up our pieces, you see each edge piece is in its correct spot. Now, real quick, I want to show you one other case you can get. As you can see, I have a solved piece here and another solved piece across from it. So as you can see, I don't have this case where I have 2 solved pieces next to each other. I have a case where the 2 solved pieces are across from each other. So what we have to do in this case is pick a random angle as long as the solved side is on the bottom, and then you just do the Sune once. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. And by doing that, you will indeed get 2 edges solved next to each other. So if we line it up, you can see these 2 pieces are solved. So with those 2 edges, we can go ahead and do a U prime move and do the Sune again to finish it off. And if we line the colors up again, you see each edge piece is now lined up with its center pieces, and all the edge pieces are solved on the whole cube. So that is step 5. So for step 6, we have to put each corner in its correct place. What I mean by that is we have to put this yellow, blue, red corner between the red, blue, and yellow centers right here, and we just do the same thing for all the other corners. Now, in this step, you can have one of 2 cases. And the first case is where you have no corners in the correct places, and the second case is when you have one corner in the correct place. And I will show you both cases. And as you can see, I have a case where I have no corners in the correct place. And what this algorithm will do is that on the top face, it will keep the bottom right corner intact, and it will cycle these three pieces counterclockwise. So if you have a case where no corners are in their proper places to begin with, what you would have to do is you have to choose a random angle to start on, as long as the solved side is on the bottom, and then you do this algorithm once. U, R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L. And what should happen is, oh, here we go. What should happen is a corner should automatically go into its correct place. You can see this one is clearly obvious. You see yellow, green, orange, and this corner is already in the correct place. So when you have a case where one corner is in the correct place, you want to put that corner on the bottom right of the top face, so the algorithm will keep this corner intact and cycle these three pieces. So with the cube in this position, we can go ahead and do the algorithm again. U, R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L. Now sometimes what would happen is this corner will stay in the correct place, but the algorithm won't cycle these around properly. In that case, you just do it again. U, R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L. And by doing it the second time, you should put all your corners in their proper places. Some of them might be oriented correctly, and we're going to get to that right now. So now we're on to the final step, which is to orient each corner or twist them so that they solve the cube. Now to do this, we're going to do an algorithm that's repeated multiple times, and when we do the algorithm, we are going to mess up the bottom side, but it will come back. I promise, if you do it right. So if we take a corner that's not oriented correctly, like this one, we're going to put the misoriented corner on the bottom right of the top face, just like we did for when we did the corner permutation, where we kept one corner in this position and cycled these three. That's basically what we're going to do. We're going to orient this corner when we do the algorithm. So with a misoriented corner on the bottom right of the top face, we then do this algorithm. R prime, D prime, R, D. And then you do that twice. R prime, D prime, R, D. Now don't lose this position because you're going to perform the algorithm again on the correct side. So what we need to do to solve the remaining three corners is we have to turn the top face only. Very important. You have to turn the top face for orienting each corner. You don't want to turn the entire cube because that's going to mess things up. You want to keep the side that you use to orient your first corner in front of you and just turn the top side to bring the next corner in place. And then you do the algorithm again. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. In this case, it oriented this corner, so what we're going to do now is we're going to turn the top face to bring the next corner in, and then we do the algorithm again. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. Now sometimes what would happen is this will still not be oriented correctly after you do the algorithm. In that case, you just do it again. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. And it did indeed orient this corner correctly. Now we'll bring the last one in and do the algorithm two more times. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. And we have to do it again. R prime, D prime, R, D, R prime, D prime, R, D. Now we can just turn this top face, and congratulations! You have solved the Rubik's Cube. So congratulations to those who have solved the Rubik's Cube. And if you want to take it up even higher, I recommend you trying out the 4x4 cube. That tutorial on this cube will come out next week. So thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and please share with your friends and family. And if you haven't, subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss an upload from me. Until next time, toodles! So we can go ahead and do a U prime move to bring them to the right and back, and we can do the Sune again to finish it off. And if we bring our colors back,